Dylan Carter, the young voice that captured hearts on national television, is gone at just 24 years old, and the news has left fans stunned, emotional, and searching for answers. What began as heartbreaking reports of a tragic accident has now turned into one of the most talked about celebrity stories as people revisit his rise, his unforgettable talent, and the haunting way his story has ended far too soon. For many viewers, this doesn't feel like just another headline. It feels personal because Dylan Carter wasn't just another reality show contestant. He was one of those rare artists people felt connected to from the moment they heard him sing. When millions first met Dylan Carter on The Voice, there was something instantly magnetic about him. It wasn't just the voice, though that voice was undeniable. It was the vulnerability, the honesty, the sense that behind every lyric was a real story. And that story came pouring out when he stood on that stage and delivered a performance so emotional it stopped the room cold. It wasn't a flashy audition. It wasn't built on gimmicks. It was raw, soulful, and unforgettable, and from the first note, everyone knew something special was happening. The moment all four coaches turned their chairs became one of those reality TV memories fans never forgot. You could see shock, admiration, and emotion on every judge's face. That doesn't happen often. Four-chair turns are rare enough, but a four-chair turn built on pure emotional connection? That's something different. And Dylan didn't just impress the coaches. He moved them. He made them feel something. That is much harder to do than simply hitting the right notes. And what made that moment even more powerful was the story behind the song. Dylan revealed he was singing in honor of his late mother, a loss that shaped so much of who he was. He shared that he once tried to sing the same song at her funeral, but couldn't finish because grief overwhelmed him. Just imagine carrying that pain and then turning it into a performance that moved millions. That wasn't just talent, that was healing through music. That was pain transformed into art. Fans instantly rallied around him. Social media lit up. Viewers called him the breakout star of the season. Some even predicted he would win it all. But even beyond the competition, people sensed they were witnessing someone with a real future. There was an authenticity to Dylan that made him impossible to ignore. In a world where many performers can feel manufactured, he felt genuine, and that made people root for him even harder. Now, in the wake of his tragic death, people are revisiting all of that with heavy hearts because those old performances hit differently now. Every lyric feels deeper, every smile feels more fragile, every hopeful moment carries this heartbreaking sense of what could have been. And that's why this story has struck such a nerve. It isn't only about losing a singer, it's about losing potential, losing promise, losing a young life many believed was just getting started. As details emerged about the accident, shock quickly turned to grief. The tragedy unfolded suddenly, and those who knew Dylan personally have described the loss as impossible to process. Friends say he had plans, big plans, career goals, upcoming performances, new music ideas. He was building something. That's what makes this feel even more devastating. This wasn't a fading star from years past. This was someone in motion, someone moving forward. And maybe that's why so many fans keep repeating the same phrase online, "gone too soon," because there's no other way to describe it. 24 years old, just beginning, just stepping into larger opportunities, just expanding his audience. It feels cruelly unfinished, the kind of story people struggle to accept because it makes so little sense. As tributes flooded in, one reaction especially shook fans. Reba McEntire, her coach and mentor, shared an emotional message that reminded everyone how close their connection had become. She didn't speak about him as a former contestant, she spoke about him as a friend. That says everything. In a world of celebrity tributes that can sometimes feel formal or distant, this felt deeply personal, and fans felt every word. People began revisiting their moments together on the show, their rehearsals, their conversations, the way Reba encouraged him, the way Dylan looked at her with respect and gratitude. Those clips now feel almost painful to watch because they capture someone so alive with possibility. There's something haunting about seeing old footage of someone gone too soon, especially when that footage is filled with hope. And then there are the fans. The reactions online have been overwhelming. Messages from viewers around the world keep pouring in. Some say Dylan's audition helped them through grief. Others say his story inspired them to pursue music. Some are posting through tears, saying they can't stop replaying his performances. It's rare for a reality show artist to leave that kind of emotional footprint, but Dylan clearly did. One comment making rounds online reads, "He didn't just sing the song, he lived it." Another says, "His voice carried pain and beauty in the same breath." And honestly, those reactions capture why this loss feels bigger than celebrity news. Because people saw themselves in him, his struggles, his dreams, his resilience. That creates a bond stronger than fandom. But there's another side of Dylan's story many people are only now discovering, and it makes his loss feel even heavier. Beyond music, he was reportedly involved in business ventures and charitable work. Friends describe someone ambitious but grounded, driven but kind, talented but humble. Those combinations are rare, and hearing those descriptions now only deepens the tragedy. People close to him have spoken about his generosity, about how he showed up for others, about how he used his growing platform to help. And that matters, because sometimes public figures get reduced to headlines, but the people who truly knew Dylan paint a much fuller picture, not just an artist, a son, a friend, a mentor, a community presence, a human being whose impact stretched far beyond television. And maybe one of the most emotional layers to all this is how much loss had already shaped his life. Dylan openly spoke about grief, about losing his mother, about channeling pain into purpose. There was something deeply moving about watching someone so young carry that much heart. It gave his performances a weight you could feel, and maybe that's why they resonated so powerfully. Now fans are revisiting those interviews where he spoke about his mother watching over him. Those words are taking on heartbreaking new meaning. People are sharing those clips with captions saying they can't stop crying. And honestly, it's understandable. There's a tragic poetry to it all that has left many people emotional. What also makes this story compelling is the contrast. Dylan had the kind of story audiences love: talent overcoming pain, a small-town dream reaching national television, a young artist finding his moment. It had all the ingredients of a beautiful rise, which is exactly why this ending feels so shocking. It clashes with the hopeful story people thought they were watching. And in true celebrity news fashion, speculation and conversations have exploded everywhere. People are talking not only about the accident, but about the pressure young artists face, about how quickly life can change, about the fragility behind fame. His passing has sparked conversations much larger than one tragedy. It has become a moment of reflection. Some fans are saying Dylan was one of those contestants who felt destined for more beyond the show, and that belief wasn't random. Even after the competition, many followed his performances, supported his music, and watched him build. There was a sense his real breakthrough was still ahead. That may be why people feel robbed, not just of a person, but of a future they believed they would witness. And let's talk about his voice for a moment, because it deserves that. Dylan didn't sing in a way that chased trends. He sang with soul, with old-school emotional depth, with that rare ability to make even familiar songs sound personal. That's not something technique alone can teach. That comes from life, from feeling, from truth, and audiences recognize that instantly. Many artists impress, fewer move people. Dylan moved people. There's a difference. One earns applause, the other earns loyalty. That's why fans stayed connected. That's why tributes are so emotional. Because this doesn't feel like remembering someone who was briefly on television. It feels like mourning someone whose voice became part of people's memories. And as the news spread, even those who hadn't followed him closely began discovering his story. That's often what happens in tragic celebrity losses. A wider audience suddenly learns who someone was. and many are now watching his performances for the first time, stunned they had never heard him before. In a painful way, this tragedy is introducing Dylan Carter to even more people. There's something bittersweet in that. The artist gains renewed recognition, but only because he's gone. That irony has been part of many tragic celebrity stories, and it's surfacing here too. People are saying his music deserves to be heard now more than ever. Some are calling for tribute performances. Others want his work preserved and celebrated. And you can feel the emotion building around his legacy, because that word, legacy, is coming up often, which is remarkable for someone only 24 years old. But maybe age doesn't determine legacy. Impact does, and by that measure, Dylan left one. His story also reminds people how reality competition shows can create more than stars. They create emotional connections. Viewers invite these contestants into their homes week after week. They celebrate them, worry for them, root for them. So when tragedy strikes, it lands differently. It feels intimate, almost like losing someone familiar. There's also growing fascination with how prophetic some of Dylan's music choices now feel. Fans keep mentioning the emotional weight of the songs he chose, lyrics about pain, strength, looking for hope. Those songs now feel layered with new meaning, and that has only fueled the emotional reaction. Meanwhile, those closest to Dylan continue sharing stories that reveal the person behind the spotlight. Stories about his humor, his kindness, his ambition, his love for performing. Those stories matter because they preserve something headlines can't: personality, spirit, presence, the things people miss most. And isn't that always what hits hardest after someone passes? The little things, the laugh, the energy, the way they made people feel. Fans are mourning the artist, yes, but loved ones are mourning those details. That's where grief often lives. As this tragedy continues making headlines, people are comparing it to other heartbreaking losses of rising stars, young talent gone before reaching full potential. It's a painful pattern entertainment has seen before, and every time it happens, it feels especially cruel because of what might have been. Imagine where Dylan could have been in 5 years. Touring, recording albums, returning to television, winning awards. That's the future fans had started imagining, and that imagination now adds to the grief, because part of mourning is mourning possibilities. There's also something undeniably cinematic about Dylan's story. A young man shaped by grief channels pain into song, earns national attention, touches millions, and leaves the world too soon. It feels almost unreal, which is probably why people can't stop talking about it. And yes, there is a dramatic sadness to celebrity stories like this that captures public attention. But beneath the headlines and emotional tributes is something very simple. A family lost a son. Friends lost someone they loved. A community lost one of its own. That human truth matters more than any headline. Still, in the world of celebrity news, stories like this resonate because they blend talent, tragedy, and emotion in a way audiences can't ignore. And Dylan's story has all of that: the rise, the heartbreak, the legacy. It's the kind of story people will keep revisiting. There's already talk among fans about keeping his memory alive through tribute playlists and memorial events. Some are pushing for a special tribute from The Voice. Others want his audition remembered among the show's greatest moments. And honestly, many feel he earned that. Because when people talk about unforgettable auditions, his name comes up. That says something. Competition shows produce hundreds of performers. Only a handful become truly memorable. Dylan became one of them. And maybe part of what made him memorable was that he never seemed driven by fame, at least not in the way some contestants can appear. He seemed driven by music, by expression, by something deeper. Viewers can sense authenticity, and they respond to it. There's also been emotional discussion about his age, 24. It keeps coming up because it feels impossible, so young, younger than many fans realizing this tragedy are themselves. It makes the loss hit with a different kind of shock. And maybe that's why people who never even watched The Voice are sharing this story. Because beyond celebrity, it taps into universal fears: sudden loss, interrupted dreams, fragile life. Those themes resonate far beyond entertainment. As more people discover Dylan's performances, many are struck by how mature his artistry seemed for someone so young. There was wisdom in the way he sang, a lived-in emotionality. It made him seem older than his years in the best way, which makes his actual age feel even harder to process. One especially moving thread online has people sharing how Dylan's audition helped them through grief over losing parents. That may be one of the most profound measures of an artist's impact. Not charts, not trophies, but helping strangers survive pain. And if that's true, then Dylan's legacy may be much bigger than television. It may live in private moments no one can measure. A song someone plays when they miss a loved one. A performance someone watches when they need hope. That's real impact. There's something beautiful in that, even amid tragedy, because while this story is heartbreaking, it is also reminding people of what art can do. It can outlive us. It can comfort after we're gone. And Dylan gave people that. Of course, many fans are still struggling with disbelief, that phase where a tragedy doesn't feel real yet. Social media is full of people saying they thought it was a rumor at first. They couldn't believe it. That kind of collective shock tells you how unexpected this was. And unexpected losses often hit hardest. There's no preparation, no long goodbye, just news that arrives like a punch. That seems to be what fans and loved ones are experiencing now. As the days pass, the raw shock may soften into remembrance. That's usually what happens. Tributes replace headlines, memories replace breaking news. But for now, the grief still feels fresh, and public reaction reflects that. What's also striking is how many people keep returning to the same theme: kindness. Again and again, tributes mention not only talent, but kindness. That repetition matters. It tells you what people valued in him most. Talent can make people famous. Kindness makes them beloved. Dylan seems to have had both, and maybe that's why this hurts. For longtime viewers of The Voice, this loss feels like losing part of the show's extended family. Fans often stay connected to contestants years after seasons end, so when tragedy touches one of them, it ripples through that entire community. And let's be honest, there's always something especially heartbreaking about young singers whose voices carried old souls. Dylan had that quality, that emotional gravity. It made him feel timeless, which makes his story feel even more tragic. As people continue celebrating his life, one message keeps surfacing: remember the music, remember the voice, remember the heart. Because while tragedy often dominates headlines, those who loved him want the focus on how he lived, not only how he died. That may be the most powerful takeaway of all. Not the accident, not the shock, but the artistry, the courage, the connection he created. And maybe that's what turns a heartbreaking news story into something more: memory, legacy, meaning. Dylan Carter may be gone, but the moments he created remain. That audition remains. That voice remains. That story remains. And for many fans, it always will. There will be people discovering him months from now, years from now, stumbling across that performance and feeling exactly what millions felt in that first moment. That is how artists endure. And perhaps in that sense, he isn't truly gone. His voice still reaches people. His story still moves people. His music still lives. That doesn't erase the tragedy, but it does give it something larger than sorrow. It gives it remembrance. It gives it legacy. And in a world where celebrity stories come and go fast, few linger emotionally the way this one has. Dylan Carter's story is lingering because it touched something real. So as fans continue mourning, celebrating, and replaying the music that made them fall in love with his talent, one truth feels undeniable: a bright light was lost far too soon. A remarkable young voice was silenced too early. But the echo of that voice may last much longer than anyone imagined. Rest in peace, Dylan Carter. And if his story moved you, if you remember his performances, or if you're just discovering his incredible talent today, share your thoughts below. What moment of Dylan's touched you most? What performance do you keep replaying? Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.